My name is Jimmy DeFalco, and I'm a recovering drug addict. A little less than 3 years ago, I had a deadly addiction to Xanax and Oxycontin, and I was just released from a mental health facility for attempting to slit my wrists during a week-long drug binge with my father, of all people. Now, who out here before has felt helpless or out of control? Like, no matter what you do or how you do it, bad things just always seem to happen to you. All right, a few of you. Well, I'm going to go ahead and keep my hand raised because that's how I felt for a long time. But that's especially how I felt walking out of that mental health facility. I felt like I couldn't control my emotions, my thoughts, the decisions I made, nothing. But I knew if I didn't gain control, I would be dead or in prison soon. Now, everything that we do, all the decisions we make and all the actions that we take, essentially the person we become, are all dictated by our belief system. What we believe ourselves to be capable of, and what we believe and how we fit in the world. And that's exactly what I want to talk to you guys about today, is how I was able to reverse 28 years of negative conditioning, shift my belief system, and completely transform everything about my life. I grew up in a Wolf of Wall Street type of environment. My father made millions of dollars, but he also partied with hardcore drugs and alcohol on a daily basis. A lot of it was done in front of me. It was a common occurrence interning at his office when I was 15, 16 years old to walk in and see him snorting a fat line of coke off his desk at 10:30 in the morning. My father loved to spoil us. You know, he had a very caring heart. He took us to New York when I was 14 to see the Yankees play in the World Series. The Yankees lost. I'm all upset. 14-year-old kid, baseball's life. So what do you guys think he did to cheer me up? He got me drunk, and he bought me a hooker. At 14 years old. Now, you can only imagine what this did to my mindset and belief system growing up. My father wasn't, living in a trailer. He had multiple houses, limos, yachts. So I looked at the way he was living his life, and I wanted to be just like him. I wanted to emulate everything. And, so my belief system formed and was centered around money, drugs, girls, partying, and fighting. And over the next 15 years, that's exactly where all my decisions came from. I truly believed the path to happiness was through those things and becoming a man as well. Now, when I graduated college in 2008, I was excited because my whole life was mapped out for me. I knew exactly where I was going and how I was going to get there. I was going to start working for my father. In a few years when he retired, I was going to take over the business. I was going to make more money and party harder than he ever did. It was going to be an epic life. But a few months after I graduated, the worst recession in the United States hit, and my family lost everything. In a matter of 6 months, it was all gone. The houses, the cars, the boats, the lifestyle, the status, gone. It was a really tough time on everybody in my family, but especially hard on me. It fell on my shoulders to try and save the family business. My father had to shut down his company and ask me to open up one in my own name. I did, and over the next 18 months or so, we grinded, barely getting by, and I get a letter in the mail from the IRS. I owed them $40,000 in payroll taxes. I'm just a 22-year-old kid. I let my father handle the books. I trusted him. So I quickly shut down the company, and this made my father go crazy. So much so, he shows up at my house about a week later at 6 a.m. in a crack-induced rage. Kicks my front door in off of its hinges, coming to fight me. Now, I didn't want to fight my father. I loved him very much still. I knew he was sick. But I had to defend myself. I ended up knocking my father out unconscious. Now, I remember picking him up from under the armpits and walking backwards, dragging his lifeless body across my house and dropping him on the pavement, waiting for the cops to come pick him up. Now, who can agree out here that this is a messed up situation? Right? Come on. I lost everything that I thought my life was going to be like. Now I was in $40,000 debt to the IRS, and I just physically fought my father. But when faced with adverse situations, we all have a very important decision to make. And if you haven't faced adversity yet in your young lives, you will eventually, so remember this. When faced with an adverse situation, you can either allow it to get you bitter or get you better. Now, at the time, I chose bitter. Because I didn't realize that no matter what situation you're in, no matter what life throws at you, you can always control three things. And those three things will determine on whether you get bitter or better. And that's what you choose to focus on, what you choose things mean to you, and what you choose to do next. I chose to focus on everything that my family had lost. I chose that this meant God hated us. He just didn't want my family to be happy. So next, I'm sure you guys can guess, I chose to party my ass off to change the way I felt about my current circumstances. But that only led to worse circumstances, obviously. At this time, I met the mother of our two children, Julie. We have a 4-year-old Anthony and a 2-year-old Angelo together. They are my absolute world today. But when she got pregnant with Anthony, our older son, I wasn't ready to have a kid. I like partying too much. I made that very well known, but I tried to do the right thing anyway. We moved out of downtown Orlando. We got a house outside of downtown, and we started our lives together. Now, this is where my addiction really, really took form. It went from, drinking and snorting coke in the party scene to crushing up Xanax and Oxycontin and snorting them alone in my bathroom. Now, if you're not aware what Oxycontin is, it's basically synthetic heroin. Heroin put in a pain pill in a lab. And these two drugs, the combination of them, they grabbed a hold of me, and they grabbed a hold of me so quick, I didn't care about anything. I lied, I cheated, I stole. I alienated everyone that loved and cared for me. Eventually, Julie had enough. She sent me to rehab. While I was in rehab, I couldn't work. I lost the house. She had to move in with her mother and our 1-year-old son. I had my car repossessed. When I got out of rehab, I kind of somewhat got my life back on track together for a few months. We moved into a condo together. But then I relapsed at least a dozen times, maybe more. She kicked me out of that house, and rightfully so. Me, having alienated everyone from my family, I had nowhere to go, except my father, which was not a good decision, as I'm sure you guys could guess from now. Instead of trying to help me, get my life back on track and put things back together, he bought an ounce of coke, a whole bunch of pills, and we got high together for a week straight. Now, this week was the deepest, the darkest, most painful, excruciating time of my life. But I'm grateful for the pain that I experienced that week, and I'll explain why in a minute. At this point, I didn't think my life could get any worse. I thought I hit rock bottom until Julie calls me. She was pregnant again. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't take care of myself. I couldn't take care of the one son that I already had, and God was putting another kid into my life? I just didn't understand. I remember falling on my knees, screaming at God like it was his fault. It's like, God, why are you doing this to me? What have I done to deserve a life like this? Why am I experiencing all this pain? Why me? Why? But I want everyone to understand that it wasn't God. It wasn't my father. It wasn't bad luck. It was simply the decisions I made and the actions that I took that landed me where I was that day, on my knees screaming at God. I made the decision that there was no possible way I could ever get my life back on track, and I was going to take my life. I shared these thoughts with a friend. Thank God he still cared for me enough to call the cops. And that leads me to the beginning of the story when I was entered to that mental health facility. Something clicked while I was in there. I don't know what it was. But over the next 18 months, I completely transformed everything about my life. Mentally, emotionally, financially, career-wise, physically. I repaired all the relationships I had damaged. But something still felt like it was missing. I still felt unfulfilled. So I started asking myself, what's my passion? What's my purpose? What am I meant to do with my life? And then all of a sudden, it just hit me out of nowhere. I don't know how I didn't see it before. I finally had an answer to the question I was asking God. Why? Why me? This is why. To do what I'm doing exactly right now. So I could share my story, share my transformation, and to prove to you guys and the rest of the world that no matter what you've been through, no matter how many bad decisions you've made, change is possible. I made the decision right then and there that I wanted to become a motivational speaker and a life coach to help deter people go down the same path that I went down and to also help pull people back that have already started down that path. Now, I want to share with you guys just 4 simple concepts that I've been able to use and utilize and still do to this day that completely transformed my life. And they're accountability, getting clear on my vision and taking massive action to get there, visualization, and getting active. So the first step I had to take, obviously, was take a hard look at myself in the mirror and take 110% accountability for where my life was that day, something I had never, ever done before. Now, something I've learned through this experience and transformation is that experiencing pain through taking accountability for that pain is the true catalyst for change. And here's what I mean by that. I experienced pain for 8, 9 years before that, but I never changed because I blamed that pain I was experiencing on God, on my father, on just plain bad luck. So if that's your belief in your mind and your heart, your life is the way it is because of someone or something else, then what motivation do you have to change? What incentive do you have to get better or to make different decisions the next time around? Absolutely none. Because the situation you're experiencing isn't even your fault anyway, right? But that week in my father's house was so painful because it was the first time I made the connection between the decisions I was making and the pain that I was experiencing. It was excruciating. But again, I'm glad I experienced it because if I never made that connection, if I never experienced that deep hurt, I never would have changed and I would be dead or in prison today. Now, accountability also allowed me to regain control of my life because before, everything was happening to me instead of because of me. When bad things happened, I used to get so angry and upset. But now when bad things happen and I take accountability for them, I can trace the outcome back to a decision. And even though something bad just happened, it gives me a calming sense of control. Not only does it give me control, it allows me to identify the bad decision I've made and to go back and learn and grow from it and not make that decision again. So I stopped feeling sorry for myself. I stopped saying poor me and playing the victim card. And I decided to take accountability for where my life was and to change it. The second concept I would like to discuss with you guys is how I got clear on my vision and started taking massive action to get there. Now, I remember about 3 years ago, I sat down at my desk and I wrote dozens and dozens of pages down of exactly what I wanted my dream life to look like. And I know you guys have probably heard before, write your goals down, read them daily, that's how you achieve them. I know it sounds corny, but there's an actual scientific reason as to why they say this. There's a part of our brains called the reticular activating system, or the RAS. And it has many functions, but one of its functions is to bring our conscious attention to things that are important in our lives or that we're focusing on. It's like, have you ever bought a new car or outfit, and then over that next week, you see that same car or outfit everywhere? You're like, what the heck? Everyone bought this last weekend. No. That car or that outfit was always around. It just now your RAS is bringing your conscious attention to it because it knows it's a part of your life. Well, the same thing happens when you write your goals down and you read them daily. Your brain will start to identify people, places, things, opportunities that align you with and get you closer to your goals. So now that I knew what I wanted my life to look like, my vision, I had to start taking massive action to get there. But at this point in my life, I didn't have any confidence. I didn't have any belief or self-worth. So what does a person do when they have big goals and aspirations, but no confidence to act on them? I simply started small. I started small by keeping these little teeny tiny promises to myself every single day. Like waking up at 4 or 5 a.m. every day, eating well, going to the gym every day, keeping my house spotless. I know these don't seem like big things. But coming from a place where I came from, doing these things allowed me to gain some momentum in my life. Allowed me to build some confidence by stacking these little decisions one after one after one. And it allowed me to shift my beliefs of what I was truly capable of. See, we all have these self-imposed limitations that we put on ourselves of what we can and can't do. But by starting small and by breaking some of those limitations one by one, We slowly, like I said, gain momentum, build confidence, and we open our minds up to a whole new world of possibilities of what we're truly capable of. So I got clear on my vision. I started small, built my confidence, I gained momentum, and I changed my belief system of what I was capable of. The third concept I would like to talk to you guys about is visualization. Now, I do this every single morning still. I go down on my patio. This morning I sat on my hotel bed, and I closed my eyes for 10 minutes. And I envision my dream life. I put myself in the situations of exactly what I want my life to be like, completing the steps I need to complete to get there. I can bring myself to literal tears sometimes doing this. I've gotten so good at this practice. You see, our subconscious minds don't know the difference between a feeling we get from an actual event and a feeling we get from a visualization. So I didn't wait for external things to bring me happiness, joy, the feeling of success. I created those feelings on my own. And how we feel is how we act. So if you can create these feelings on your own and act in accordance with those, you will eventually manifest your dream life in actual reality. The last concept I want to talk to you guys about is getting active. Now, it's the gym for me. I love lifting. But it can be anything for anyone: biking, running, swimming, rock climbing, whatever it may be. The gym literally saved my life. I wouldn't be here today without it. It taught me about work ethic, discipline, consistency, how to push through pain. For every single physical limitation I broke through, I grew stronger mentally. I grew stronger emotionally. And I was slowly building and developing my character into the person I needed to be. One set, one rep, one workout at a time. Now, I wasn't aware of this at the time, but I learned about a year and a half ago that physical activity has actually been linked to increasing brain plasticity. Brain plasticity basically refers to your brain's ability to change and make new neurological connections as you change, as you drop old habits and pick up new ones. So physical activity has been scientifically linked to allowing your brain to make these changes more easily. So no matter where you are in life, good or bad right now, you should always be trying to improve. Physical activity is a must. Now, I couldn't have imagined in my wildest and craziest dreams that just 3 years after being a drug addict in a mental health facility, that I would be on a TEDx stage in another country. But I'm not different. I'm not special. It only goes to show that anyone, no matter where you are in life right now, good or bad, can apply these few simple concepts day in and day out and be in a completely different space in a year or two from now. I know I talked a lot about myself, but this talk wasn't supposed to be about me. This talk is about creating change within yourself, so you can then go create change in the world with whatever that vision is that you have. So if you're going through a difficult time right now, if you're going through pain, and you're just thinking, why me? Why is everyone else so happy and I have to go through this? Just know this. Know that God, or your creator, whoever you choose to believe in, is shaping you and molding you through that pain. But it's your responsibility to get better and not bitter. It's your responsibility to take accountability for that pain, to harness that pain, and to turn that pain into prosperity, into greatness, into a brand new life for yourself. Thank you very much.